Ladies and gentlemen, NFL football is back, starting tonight with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions. We're going to break it all down on a Thursday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. Let's roll.
Baby.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to a Thursday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast, and not just any Thursday edition. It is the kickoff to the 2023 NFL season. We have the Kansas City Chiefs against the Detroit Lions bringing us back. We're going to talk about that, plus make our official Super Bowl predictions and talk about the best games of Week 1. Before we get into it, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, and it's a crossover Thursday by Prize Picks as well. So check out your favorite NFL teams Locked On show to get ready for the game this weekend. But Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. I am one of your hosts, Tyler Rowland, here with my co-host, Alex Clancy. We're going to be breaking down this first week of NFL action, starting, of course, with this game. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Get subscribed, stay subscribed. Alex, Chiefs versus Lions. My question to you is, now that Travis Kelce is injured and most likely missing this game, do you think the Lions are going to win? Do you think the Lions are going to win the game now with Travis Kelce out?
No.
Oh,
I don't. They use Travis Kelce like a running back. They use Travis Kelce like a wide receiver. It doesn't matter. Like, Travis Kelce is, offensively maybe the, third best player in the NFL. Like, if you're going to combine everybody, especially with usage and things like that. But no, so we're going to find out really quickly who Justin Ross is, who their rookie Rice is, if Sky Moore is going to be the wide receiver one there.
Right.
Like, they've got young speed on that roster. I mean, not to mention Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon out of the backfield. They got Patrick Mahomes, and it's Patrick Mahomes until it's not. So I'm taking Patrick Mahomes until it's not. Even though it's going to be one of the more fun games, you expect a lot of points to be scored, even though it could be clunky in the first quarter.
right.
It takes a while for defenses to catch up to speed in regular season. So you could see just some clunkiness on the defense side of the ball for both sides.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And honestly, yeah. Well, I think I'm still going to go with Kansas City with them being the home team. And I agree with you. If it's a points fest, which I think it might be, I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes and bet on that. But the thing is, the big factor for me is Detroit's offensive line. The Detroit Lions have a great offensive line. That's a foundation that they haven't had in quite some time. I can't remember the last time we said, oh, the Lions have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL, maybe back to the Matthew Stafford days at best. But when they add Penei Sewell, I love that pick. Frank Ragnow at center, Taylor Decker at left tackle. I think they're going to be able to move people. And the other big factor, you talk about Travis Kelce being out, no Chris Jones still.
Right.
No Chris Jones still with no entrance for Chris Jones on the horizon. If you take away the best players outside of Patrick Mahomes, the two best players on the Chiefs are Chris Jones and Travis Kelce, and they're not going to have them. So I think there's going to be a ton of points scored, and I think that does end up leaning us towards Kansas City. But I think Detroit's offensive line is going to be able to bully people, and they have a really nice cast too. So I think it's going to be really close. I think we're looking at like 34-31 Kansas City, and I think it's going to be a very exciting game to start the season.
I just want a repeat, just a massive throwback from a couple years ago. The game was supposed to be played at Azteca Stadium, Monday Night Football, I think. They scored 100 points between Jared Goff from the Rams and Patrick Mahomes.
54-51.
Yeah, that was the most fun football game maybe I've ever witnessed in the regular season. It was just, It didn't matter. It didn't matter. Everybody was going to score all the points. We'd only be so lucky to get somewhere close to the amount of pointage scored tonight.
I think that that's what the NFL was going for here, because if you look at the matchup, the Lions are a bit of an obscure. I know that everybody's kind of high on the Lions as a young team, but that's still quite a leap for the NFL to take to make that a NFC versus AFC matchup to start the year. They usually go with, I guess, some more proven options in that game. They typically go for, two high-profile quarterbacks or two teams that have been in the playoffs and on the main stage for the last couple of years. That's not the case with the Detroit Lions. So they must believe something about the Lions because the NFL wants an entertaining product to start the year. That's what they want to kick off the season. They're not going to put a tomato can against the reigning champions on purpose. I think this is a sign that the NFL believes in the Lions and they think they can maybe deliver, maybe not quite 54-51, but they can deliver something like what you're looking for and what we're talking about with that Rams-Chiefs game from a couple of years ago. So I think my big takeaway more than anything from this matchup, and I'm excited to see if it holds true, is I think the NFL believes in the Lions, and I want to see if they prove them right or wrong.
That seems like something out of Mad Libs 3 years ago. Right. That sentence. I mean, but the thing is with the Lions is now there may be more expectations now from the Lions in the last 25 years. I mean, maybe 1 year with Matthew Stafford. Okay. Right. But it was the year where Brandon Pettigrew didn't get the pass interference called on him. Was that right? I think it was Brandon Pettigrew. I think it was their tight end that lost them their playoff run. Like, I want to see Jared Goff succeed. I'm a truther of Jared Goff. I want to see all this. I want to see Jahmyr Gibbs. I want to see Aiden Hutchinson. I want to see all of it. But they're still the Lions until they're not. So if they lose 35-17 in kind of a pseudo-embarrassing fashion, then it's like, well, last year was fun when there were zero expectations. Now there are actual expectations. Now they're the odds-on favorite on FanDuel, I believe, to win the NFC North. And I did call this 2 seasons ago with you. They are 2 seasons away from winning the NFC North. I just don't know if it's going to happen because now there are expectations higher than there have been, especially in this 24/7 news cycle in which we live.
And also, this is setting up an immediate overreaction on Monday. If the Chiefs roll the Lions and it's 31-13 or something like that, and the Lions look bad, like you said, it could go the total opposite way. Everybody could jump off the boat, and it could prove to be, just a week one overreaction. And you can already see it happening. The Lions aren't for real. This was just a mirage that everyone was under with Dan Campbell. But I wouldn't react so harshly, even if that's the outcome. Either way, I'm just so excited. I know Alex is as well, to have NFL football back in our lives. We're going to talk about our Super Bowl predictions, plus the best games of the rest games of week 1 in the NFL. We're here, folks. Before we get into all of that, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Look, guys, Prize Picks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including like pros, sharks, you just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projection and watch the winnings roll in. Let me make it simple. You're thinking about this game tonight. You take Jared Goff passing yards, more or less than 250. Patrick Mahomes, more or less than 300 passing yards, on and on. You just pick 2 to 6 players, and if you guess all of them right, you can win big time on Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Once again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use that code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. It's Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, folks, let's continue. NFL football is back in our lives. We just talked about that Chiefs-Lions matchup kicking off the season. But what's going to happen at the end of the season? A few weeks ago, Alex and I talked about our division winner predictions and who we think could get the wild card spots. Now we want to kind of hammer things home with our final Super Bowl predictions before tonight's game really kicks off. Alex, I'll give you the floor. What are you thinking?
The NFC is so weird, man.
I know. It's the hardest thing to predict. There's some good options in the AFC that make sense, but you get to the NFC and it's like, who's even fighting for this?
I can't pick Philly. I don't want to pick the 49ers. Like, I just don't, like, my brain is a pretzel for the NFC. Because it's like, okay, Philly, it's not because it's lazy. Who I'm going to take in the AFC and who I'm going to take to win the Super Bowl seems lazy, but it's not. It's Patrick Mahomes is going to win the Super Bowl until he doesn't. Like, I don't see Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. I don't see it because I haven't seen it. And until I see it, I don't care. I know that Joe Burrow knocked out Patrick Mahomes, but I'm taking Patrick Mahomes regardless. If he's wearing 15 for the Chiefs, I'm taking him. If he's wearing a different number for the Chiefs, I'm taking him. But for the NFC, it's like the 49ers don't have a quarterback. I don't think that Brock Purdy is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't see it. I need to see it. George Kittle's hurt again. Okay, so that's another one of his most trusted weapons from last year.
Nick Bosa still.
No Nick Bosa still sitting out because remember, kids, you can't pay everybody $100 billion. Okay, you
Real
can't.
Cash matters.
Trade for players. This would you can't do it. And the fact that they haven't picked Nick Bosa blows my mind. They haven't figured it out.
He's the one who should get it.
Yeah, of course. So, of the two between Philly and San Francisco, I'll take Philly because Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. You know, their defense is fine. They've lost some pieces. They've added some pieces. But there's nobody else in the NFC I can take. And that's the problem.
If you had to. Let's do this. If you had to, other than Philly and San Francisco, if you had to pick another team to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC, who would you pick right now? That's really what the question is then. Right.
There are two. One is more of an honorable mention. It's the Saints. And because the Saints have not even close.
Right.
But they've been a stable organization for the last, Sean Payton years. And then Dennis Allen may not be that great of a coach, but they're the Saints now. They're different. They're different than the 70s Saints. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Carr is fine. Okay. The offense is going to be fine. The defense is going to be good. But the one for me is Seattle, just because they have the best offense. Okay.
Right.
Pete Carroll is still Pete Carroll has won a lot of big games in college and in the pros. The defense is getting increasingly better every year. The offensive line has gotten better, still kind of a question, but they have all the offensive players in the NFL. So it's like with Geno Smith's floor being higher than people expected, that would probably be my pick as I'm going roundabout because I don't want to actually give an answer because I feel stupid.
That's fair.
What about you?
Well, listen, I'm going to answer it as well. I wouldn't ask you a question. I wouldn't be willing to answer myself. For me, it's Dallas.
Oh,
I would pick Dallas. I think the offensive line, they have the talent on offense. I think not having Zeke and feeling like you have to get him involved will open up the offense even more for him. I think Deuce Vaughn will be a playmaker. Shout out #ShortKings. They have who could be the best defensive player in the NFL this year, Micah Parsons. That's available. They have talent on defense. I think that Dallas is a team that, if they're healthy enough, could make a run. So if I couldn't pick Philly or San Francisco, I would pick Dallas, but I'm going to pick one of Philly or San Francisco. But before I make my pick, make your official Super Bowl pick because we never really – I just want to get it locked down officially.
Oh, yeah. It'll be Kansas City. Yuck, dude. I don't want to. I don't want to pick either of them. I'm taking Kansas City against Seattle. Kansas City winning.
Okay, Kansas City against Seattle. That's fair. I like the general idea that you have that it's Patrick Mahomes until it isn't. I get it. Going with the best quarterback in the NFL,
but
succeed and win is never a bad idea. But
I'm taking Joe Burrow.
The NFL just doesn't work like that all the time. And at the end of the day, the best roster in the NFL, in my opinion,
is Cincinnati Bengals.
Is the Cincinnati Bengals.
It's the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes. And they brought both their coordinators back who have experience against all of the teams in the AFC. I just think the Bengals team is too good to not break through and get one with this group before T. Higgins leaves and before Tyler Boyd is gone and before they have to make some tougher decisions on defense. I think the Bengals break through. They go to the Super Bowl again. I think they play the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Eagles get back. I just don't think the NFC is good enough. I think the Eagles are the most talented roster. And what it comes down to is talented roster and then quarterback. You know? So, the Eagles and the 49ers may be equal in terms of how good their roster is. But then who has the better quarterback? Jalen Hurts. So I'm going to go with that. I think it's Eagles, Bengals, and I think the Bengals win.
That'd be a sexy-ass Super Bowl. I'll tell you
what. It would be very exciting. Just like last year's game was very exciting.
Yeah.
And I just think that Joe Burrow is a star. He's the type of guy who can carry the moment. He's the type of guy the NFL would want in front. And I think the Bengals, going from how they operated as a team to Super Bowl champion with his arrival, would just take him to a stratosphere that it's hard to understand exactly. So I think I'm just going with the two best rosters and then picking who the better quarterback is throughout my whole process. So I'm going to go Bengals over Eagles.
And you know what's better than one Patrick Mahomes? One Patrick Mahomes and one Joe Burrow, who are 1-1-8, leading the charge like something closer than Tiger and Phil. Something closer than, just two guys that are just like this back and forth with, the last leg of some sort of race. Like if we see that for the next 10
Manning
years,
and Brady. I mean, I know that Brady's championship count put him way far ahead, and you go back and look on paper and it doesn't. But when we were watching those games and watching them compete in their primes, it felt like they were equals battling it out on the field.
Sure.
And that's what it can be with Mahomes and Burrow. Maybe Burrow only gets one, and Mahomes gets 3 or whatever. And it may not look close, but it feels like that right now. So I don't know. That's where I'm at with it.
Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. Tyler Rowland, Locked on Titans. We make up Locked on NFL Thursday. Up next, the best games of week 1. It's Tyler and my favorite segment every week. We will hit it. First, this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. All right. So I have massive love for LinkedIn. Ever since, even before this podcast, I use LinkedIn a lot for jobs, a lot for networking. One thing my dad told me early on when I didn't know what I wanted to do after graduating college, he was like, you need to get in contact with every single person you know and ask them to talk to 10 people that they know. And LinkedIn was infused in that with me. And now it's more streamlined than ever because these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business. And you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. All right, LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. You make a post, you add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you want to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Final segment, Locked on NFL Thursday. Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. Tyler Rowland, Locked on Titans. Free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube Monday through Friday for all your Titans and Cardinals news. This is Tyler and my favorite segment every week. We get to talk about our favorite games of the week. And
Alex, we have breaking news. Before we get into our favorite games of week 1, Nick Bosa, 5-year, $170 million extension with the San Francisco 49ers, $122.5 million, guaranteed $34 million a season, the highest paid defensive player in history. What are your immediate takeaways?
How can they pay everybody?
Right.
Except for, my immediate takeaway is Brock Purdy better be good.
Right.
Because if he's not, they can't pay anybody else. Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey's making a lot of money. Trent Williams makes all the money in all the lands.
Brandon Ayuk needs paid.
Anybody else? Yeah. So Brock Purdy better damn well be good. If he is, this will be the most genius construction of a roster in the history of football. Like if they win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy leading the charge, not in like a Brad Johnson role, but in like a Brock Purdy like quarterback 1 role, this will be you throw the towel in. It's completely backwards.
Yeah, it's wild. And I think having Kyle Shanahan, who basically is the quarterback for all of his teams.
Yeah.
Definitely allows them to build it this way. But I think you hit it all. I mean, I think Bosa deserves the money. It's crazy how they're able to manage all of it. They definitely do need Brock Purdy. But either way, big news just broke. Bosa will be back for the season. Highest paid defensive player of all time. That's wild. But with that being said, let's dive into
last thing.
Go ahead.
Last thing. Kansas City, you've got 24 hours. Chris Jones still wants to play football. Pay the man.
You know he does. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it should come in a little bit below because Chris Jones is older, obviously. So maybe that gives them somewhere to work from. But with the game I'm going to start with is a 1:00 game on Sunday, and it's 49ers against the Steelers. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is, Alex. I don't know if it's just football trauma of a lifetime, but the Steelers are the boogeyman. When I wake up in the middle of the night and I put my cold foot down on the cold floor, the monster that I think is going to grab me from under my bed is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. And something tells me in my bones that the boogeyman's coming to play this year, that the Steelers are going to be good. I don't know why, but I think the Steelers are going to be good. And I think that the Steelers win this game. They're home dogs right now on FanDuel. I think it's -2.5. Maybe -3.5. If it's -3, no, it has to be 2.5. Can't be 3.5. No way. But I think they're 2.5 point underdogs at home. The Steelers are winning that game outright. I think the Steelers are going to be good. And I think Steelers versus 49ers is going to be a physical football game that will be fun to watch on Sunday at 1:00.
Yeah. I mean, I know that we'll go back and forth. I'll let you take the one that you're going to take next. I'm going to go in your division as quarterbacks of the future with Jacksonville and Indy. I just want to see what Anthony Richardson is.
Right.
What kind of football player is he going to be? What kind of quarterback is he going to be? And then also, this is that year that Josh Allen took the next step. This is that year for Trevor Lawrence where it's you want to play with the big boys? Here you go, kid. One of the easiest.
They got to miss Stephon Diggs, too. They gave him Calvin Ridley. He has his number one target now. It's time.
Yep. Defense has improved. They've got all the weapons. Evan Ingram has found a rebirth with Doug Peterson, who loves his tight ends. They've got Christian Kirk. They've got Zay Jones. They've got guys, and I just want to see in the, the loving confines of Lucas Oil Stadium, what it's going to be with Trevor Lawrence, what it's going to be with Anthony Richardson. And we're going to do this like a snake draft. I'm going to go next. Okay. Because I think it's only fair. This is the game of the week for me. And I don't want you to steal it. So I'm going to say it first. It's the Chargers and Dolphins. This is one of the best setups for football.
Yes.
It just is because
425 on Sunday.
Yeah, I think that you and I are in the same camp that if we could watch the Chargers and Chiefs every week for 18 weeks, we would. And this is one where it's getting sneaky. If Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill really turn into this dynamic duo that does it year over year, and Tua takes that step forward in his third year, this could be just a fascinating, a rivalry for the future. There could be 100 points scored or there could be 30. We don't really know about what either of these defenses are truly going to bring with the star-studded nature of both of them. But this is the one. This is the one for me. Even more than, Detroit and Kansas City tonight. Yeah. This is the one that I want to watch the most.
I agree with you. I agree every week. So shout out to my dad. Introduced me to football when I was a wee lad, was coach, but love football because of my dad. We go through these games every week, and both of us stopped on the Dolphins Chargers. Wow, that's a game. That is a game to watch right there. So you're 100% right. Sniped me right there. This is tough after this. I mean, Bills Jets is a good game. Cowboys Giants is a good game. Those are the Sunday night and Monday night games. But for me, I'm going to go with a 1:00 game. I'm going to go back to where we were talking last time. I'm going to go to the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, full participant in practice on Wednesday. Yeah. He's going to be ready to go. They play the Browns. And part of this is I'm excited to see the Bengals play football, but also the Browns. Is Deshaun Watson going to look like his Houston Texans self at any time? Is this a colossal failure? The Browns are one of those teams where we could sit back at the end. Some people are high on the Browns and think they're going to be really good. I think they'll be competitive. But if it goes really bad and Watson looks bad, the Browns could look like an utter, complete dumpster fire, and they had lost all traction that they gained during the Baker Mayfield early years. And I think that would be an interesting storyline with everything they gave up to get Watson and how they sent Baker Mayfield, which, in fairness, I think was the right decision. If you put away all of the off-field stuff, Deshaun Watson is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. I believe that. But if Watson is just, cursed by his own doing now, and, the Browns look terrible and he looks awful, all the money, all the picks, Stefanski would definitely be fired. Jim Schwartz is a fiery defensive coordinator who could try to steal that job away from him anyways. I just think things could get really ugly in Cleveland. So I want to see them come out and see if they take down the Bengals in week 1, it sets the stage for them really being competitive. If they lose, though, I feel like it could really send them the other way because they got a tough schedule and tough division.
Yeah. I mean, good luck moving Deshaun Watson's contract.
Exactly.
Good luck.
So
good luck.
It could be a disaster, mistake by the lake.
It's so crazy. It's like, you could totally see them fire sailing Nick Chubb, even though he just signed a contract extension, Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku, they just signed Myles Garrett. Like, you could see that going from where it is now to crumbling in 2 seasons if things don't work. But mine, and listen, I don't know why the Bills are starting to just piss me off. Like, they're not lovable anymore.
They're not. They're out of that territory. Yes, the Chargers and the Jaguars are now there.
Because they haven't won anything.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, to be lovable, you have to come from nowhere, seemingly. A quarterback drafted 7th overall from Wyoming who didn't make all conferences last year in college, to looking like Eli Manning Jr., to becoming the best quarterback in football, arguably, with Patrick Mahomes, to just never winning when they're supposed to. Now, that Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, 13 seconds, whatever it was, nobody could have stopped that. That's not a Buffalo Bills thing. But when you lose 4 Super Bowls and you've never won, and it's always a losing thing in Orchard Park, it's just a thing. So they're no longer lovable. Now they have expectations that they're not meeting. And it's not their fault because Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, etc. But the Jets and Bills, I guess, because it's more like the Jets are more lovable now for me than the Bills, which is completely counterintuitive to everything I think about Aaron Rodgers. Right. But it's just like a little Giants scenario, or it's like it's a scenario where there's a quarterback that comes in that's just like, I'm going to be the quarterback, take a young team, and now they're fun. And it's just like, I didn't think I would think this, but I think this now. So I don't know. I guess that would be the honorable mention.
Yeah, that's fair. It's funny. You said the word that was coming to my head, and it's expectations. They love you until you don't meet their expectations. Yeah. And now that the Bills' expectations get higher every year and they fail to meet them every year, the love will start to go away. And like I've been saying for a while, it's a line. We have the Bills, the national sweetheart, the team that everybody just falls in love with. Oh, it'd be cool if they won. Nobody'd be mad about that. It was the Bills. Then it goes to the Chargers, and then it goes to Jacksonville, and it's just happening, and they all move up the line and fall off. It's like the yodeler guy on The Price is Right. He yodels to the top of the mountain, then falls off. All right, the Bills are at the top of the mountain, and they better slam the button and win the game, or they're falling off, and the next yodeler's coming up and ready to take their turn. So with that crazy analogy, I think that will do it for our Thursday edition. We are just so excited that football is back. But that's going to do it for me, Tyler Rowland, my co-host, Alex Clancy. I'm Locked On Titans.
Really quick.
He's Locked On Cardinals.
It wouldn't be me if I didn't interrupt you one more time. Good. Is there any sort of intrigue? Because we could do this entire show on just our most fun games. Maybe we'll do it at some point this year. Is the intrigue for Chicago and Green Bay there, or is it gone? Because Aaron Rodgers is I know that there are more fun stories.
I think it's there. That was an honorable mention for me, that if we had, twice the show, I was diving into that one. But I agree. Seeing what Jordan Love looks like and seeing if Justin Fields made improvements and the new Bears and all the hype there, that's absolutely one. That's the very next game on the list. You know what I mean? That's the next game on our board for our fantasy draft. But with that being said, that is going to do it for us. Be back on Friday. Chris Carter, your boy Q. As I always say, start your weekend early and stay safe out there.